Movie Crusaders, and welcome to our latest episode. My name is Sean Wasserkrug, and today I'm going to be reviewing the comedy of the summer, Joyride. Now, this is a film that really flew under the radar for me until I saw the first initial trailer, especially the Red Band trailer. The four leads in this are, for the most part, relative unknowns, except for Stephanie Zhu, who I know from Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and where everyone else knew her from, which is last year's Everything Everywhere All at Once, where she was nominated for Best Supporting Actress. The cast here is, when you get comedies like these, you either get, especially when it's like a group of 4 or 5, you either get like a top tier cast of people that you know and are seasoned with their comedies. You're like, oh, I can't wait to watch these people work together. Or you get a bunch of relative unknowns with maybe one star, and just you're going to kind of grow and develop these actors or actresses through this film to become big names. And that's something that Joyride really is. And a lot of people would call this kind of a, we've seen this movie before, where the girls trip or Rough Night, or even the female version of Hangover to a point. And I don't necessarily disagree with that to a point, but I also disagree with it because not the same plots, anything like that. It's just a 4-girl raunchy sex comedy. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. And the trailer itself was hilarious, to the point where I got super excited to see this movie. I was hoping that it was not going to disappoint me and that most of the jokes weren't in the trailer, especially the Red Band trailer. And going through this and watching this, I can gladly say that this movie excels at what it aims out to do, which is to bring back that fun sex comedy vibe to the theaters, where you can actually watch it among other people in the theaters and laugh and enjoy it and have fun together. Brian and I were talking on a show, I think last year, I think it was like The Death of Movie Theaters or something like that, where we were like, we don't really get comedies and rom-coms so much on their own in movie theaters anymore. They tend to go straight to streaming, unless it's like part of like a big franchise like the MCU or something like that. You might get the occasional comedy here, but just a straight up comedy with no attachments to anything else, especially with 4 leads that one's relatively known because of one movie last year. You don't really get these in theaters anymore. And this is a breath of fresh air that we are getting something like this. The 4 leads, you got Ashley Park, who plays Audrey, who I guess would be considered the actual lead character. You got Sherry Cola, who plays Lolo, her best friend. You also got, like I said, Stephanie Zhu, who plays Kat, a friend of Audrey's. And then you also got Deadeye, played by Sabrina Wu, who is related to Lolo. And basically the general plot of this film is we're following Audrey, who is about to go on a huge business trip. She's a lawyer. She's trying to close a deal. And she's heading to China. And she's an adopted kid to a white family. And this is her first time going to China on her own or China in general. It's the first time she's going back to basically the country where she's from. Lolo has lived there. And on the journey there with a cat and Deadeye, they start to go on a journey to try to find her birth mother. And this is a journey for Audrey in a sense of trying to kind of figure out who she is while still trying to maintain her goal of trying to close this deal for her job so she can get promoted to partner. But through the way, that kind of starts to become on the back burner, and it's about her trying to find her identity as a person, where she came from, who is she? Yes, we know she's an adopted kid, but what makes her herself? And with her friends along the way, she starts to develop this journey of self-actualization, self-identity, with many, many laughs and crazy, zany things that happen along the way. The cast is really what makes this movie great. The comedy is good, but it is the delivery of these 4 leads. Ashley Park, who I thought I knew from a Disney show, but that's not the case. She is awesome in this movie. She toes the line of being the straight man, but when she unleashes her comedy, it is hilarious. I'm excited to see what she does, here on in the future. She's definitely someone that I will. All 4 of these girls, especially Stephanie Zhu, because I love her anyway. I'm excited to see where these 4 girls go in the future with future installments of films that they could be doing. Sherry Cola, she plays basically the zany, crazy friend with no filter who doesn't kind of want to grow up, who just wants to hang out with her best friend, have fun. She's kind of the one that relies on Audrey, and Audrey's kind of the responsible one. Stephanie plays Kat, Audrey's college friend, who's basically become this huge Chinese soap opera actress that they meet in China. And Deadeye, played by Sabrina Wu, she's basically this awkward, dry, dry delivery, sense of humor type of character who's related to Lolo. Um, the combination of all four of these girls work immensely. The plot, it's not anything you haven't seen before, but like I've said many, many times on this channel, just because it's a plot we've seen many, many times before, it's how the plot is utilized, how the lines of dialogue, especially the comedy dialogue, is delivered, and the performances. What can you do to elevate this past something that we've seen, 20 plus times before? And I feel like all four of these girls do a great job of giving us unique, funny dialogue. And it's not even just the dialogue on the page, it's how they deliver the dialogue, how their chemistry between all four of these girls are, and all of them knock it out of the park. Especially Sabrina Wu as Deadeye. Her delivery on so many of these lines, I guess you could call her like the Zach Galifianakis from Hangover of the group, except her delivery is so dry that it just, everything she says is awesome. But what I also love about this is each character, as zany and crazy and funny as they all have real core character traits that are like real. Sabrina Wu's Deadeye, she's awkward and just weird, hence why they call her Deadeye. But she really just wants to have friends, and she's so awkward that she's used to kind of just being kind of lumped in with people, and not because they want her to be there, but because she's related to Lolo, and Lolo is all about just trying to beat the life of the party, but she really is just afraid to lose what she has, which is Audrey, who's blossoming into someone big, and she's afraid she's going to lose her along the way. Audrey, obviously, her self-discovery, self-identity, and Kat's, I can't say what Kat's is because it's a great beat throughout the film, and I don't want to spoil that for you. But it's the journey that all four of these characters go through on this film that makes this movie memorable and fun along the way. The comedy is great. There are so many scenes in this movie and just lines of dialogue that are quick and just like right in there that are just gut-busting laughing. I was almost in tears at certain points of this film because of the comedy. But also there's heart in this film as well near the end that can maybe cause some teary eyes in the crowd. It does run into the same little hiccups here and there that a lot of comedies, especially since the early 2000s, that do, where it's like, oh, everything's fun, and then we have to hit a real hard moment where everything falls apart, everyone's at odds, and then it's like having to try to get all the characters back together, and so you get about a 10-15 minute part of the film where there's not a whole lot of laughs, and you're just kind of watching almost like a dramedy to a point. And sometimes that works well, other times it doesn't. This one, it works for the most part, but when you're getting joke for an hour and 20 plus minutes, and then you go 10-15 minutes without any laughs whatsoever, while the subject matter is still really good and really well acted, it does slow down the pacing of the film. The second act as well, while still fun and enjoyable, does tend to kind of lose its way until they can get right back on track. But I still think Joyride is a blast to watch. It's hands down the funniest film of the year in just straight up comedy, perception of films. And I definitely highly recommend checking this out in theaters, especially if you can get a big group of people to go out there. You're gonna have a fun time watching this. Like I said, stellar performances from Ashley Park, Sherry Cola, Stephanie Wu, and of course Stephanie Zhu. I cannot wait to see what these four girls do in the future. High recommendation. I'm going to give Joyride an 80%. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you guys did, go and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos that pop up on the Movie Crusaders. And of course, you're going to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. Coming up next, we have this week's episode of the Weekly Crusaders, where Brian Michaels and myself will be talking about two movies that came out during this week in movie history. As well as later this week, we'll be coming out with our 2023 half-year in review, where Brian and I will be going over our best films, worst films, most disappointing, and most surprising films of 2023 so far. Next week, obviously, we've got Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, one of my most anticipated films of the year. I don't know if we're just going to have a regular review like this, or if Brian and I are going to be doing a non-spoiler spoiler review. We'll figure that out when we see the film, as well as more episodes for the Weekly Crusaders and so on and so forth. So plenty of videos to watch on the channel. Hope you guys check those all out. And until next time, in case I don't see you, go watch some movies and go have some fun.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.